Welcome everybody, I'm George Grapeleaves, nutritionist, chef, and author, and I'd like to welcome you all to Eat Right by George, the cooking show that shows you that healthy can be delicious. And on today's show, we will be teaching you how to prepare healthy Greek stuffed grape leaves vegetarian style. And this is one of my favorite recipes to prepare because it's both nutritious and healthy, and it's something that I've been preparing in all my healthy cooking classes and in all my cookbooks also. There are so many ways you can prepare stuffed grape leaves. You can use ground lamb, you can even use ground chicken, ground turkey, even ground beef. But on today's show, we are going to be preparing them vegetarian style. And the first thing that I would like to do is get my skillet heated up, and I'm using an electric skillet. I turn it up to about 350 degrees, and we want to get our pan nice and hot so that when we start cooking, the recipe will turn out much more colorful and nutritious. The first ingredient that you will need when preparing stuffed grape leaves is extra virgin olive oil, and I use extra virgin olive oil because, as you can see, it has more color and the taste is much better than any of the other olive oils, which have been a little bit more processed. And what they mean by extra virgin olive oil is that it is the first cold press. This means that it's not overly processed. So we will need about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in our pan. This type is a product of Greece. This has been imported. First cold press. Now, as that heats up, I'm going to chop 2 green onions. And remember, when you are chopping green onions, you must take off the roots and put those aside. We won't be using those. And you want to chop them about a ½ inch, using preferably a French knife. And it's okay to use the green parts of the green onion. We don't want to throw that away. That also has flavor and color in it. So once this is chopped, you want to take that and put it in your pan that's nice and hot. You don't want your pan too hot because then they start to burn. Then take a spoon and move them around. Get the olive oil out there. And this is very important because you want to move around your green onions so that they don't get overly brown. Now what's happening here is that our green onions are caramelizing. They're releasing all the sweetness, which is very important for this recipe. Now you can tell when the green onions are done when they look a little translucent and they've been coated with the extra virgin olive oil. Once you notice that they are lightly browned, next you're going to add about a cup of white rice. And you're also going to saute your white rice. And it's going to absorb all that flavor from the extra virgin olive oil. Combine that with your green onions. As you can see, using my spoon, move them around. Never leave them in the same spot for too long. And once it's absorbed all that flavor and the rice is all coated with the extra virgin olive oil, I like to use a little tomato sauce. So we had about 2 cups of tomato sauce to our recipe. And stir that around. Oh, we're really cooking now here on Eat Right by George. We are going to learn how to eat right with some really healthy and simple recipes. There's really not much to it. The hardest part is just getting everything prepared. Now as I let these cook together, the next thing I'm going to start to do is chop up some fresh mint and some fresh dill. And these are all taken from my herb garden. And if you don't have fresh mint and dill, it's okay to use the powdered form if you have it, but fresh is always so much better. And all you do is take the mint. I like to pick it early in the morning. Make sure to remove the leaves from the stems because you don't want the stems in there. And once this is starting to bubble, you can turn it down a little bit just so that you don't have any problems. And the mint is added to this to give it that authentic flavor, that authentic Greek flavor. Because in Greek and Mediterranean cooking, we use a lot of mint and dill. It is in almost all of our recipes. It's very prominent in our cooking. And one of the nutrition facts about mint is that it can be used as a tea to aid if you have digestive problems or abdominal cramps. You can take the mint and boil it as a tea and drink that as a more natural aid to anything that's ailing you with digestion. I'm using a little bit more mint and dill here because when you're using fresh mint and dill, you need to add more than if you're using the powdered form. It's not quite as concentrated. I'm using a couple of tablespoons, about equal parts. Now I don't overly chop herbs because they become bitter, as you can see. And I stir them briefly. Now sometimes the pan can stick a little. If that happens, you can add about half cup of water to your mix. Now this is doing just fine. As you can see, very colorful. Now next, I'm going to add some fresh lemon juice, real lemon, about 2 tablespoons there, and mix that around. Now if you were to use ground lamb in this recipe, you would have sauteed your lamb prior to cooking, and you would add that now. If you wanted to add some ground lamb, you would add that now. You could cook it in a separate pan, strain it, and then you would add it to your mix. And what I'm doing here is letting the rice absorb all the juice, your tomato juice, the olive oil, because when we stuff our grape leaves, you don't want the rice, the mixture, to be too runny. And speaking of the grape leaves, here they are right now. These are fresh grape leaves from my garden, and I actually pick them in early summer, usually around June when they first start coming out, because this is the time when the grape leaves are more tender. You want to have tender grape leaves because if they're too tough, they become chewy. So what I like to do is take the grape leaves, and this is fun to do if you have family and friends over, so you're not the only one doing it. But they really don't take a lot of time. Once you become a professional grape leaf stuffer, it doesn't take long at all. I like to get them out on the cutting board, on my board here. and kind of spread them out. Now, grape leaf, as I was mentioning before, is picked in June, early when they're tender. And what I do is I take them and I will put them in a pot with boiling water, and I blanch them briefly, not too long because I don't want them to lose their color. So I blanch them in the boiling water briefly, then strain the boiling water and pour cold water on top of the grape leaves in order to cool them off so they stop cooking. The cold water helps to stop the grape leaves from cooking, overcooking, and then they lose their color. Now these are just right, and what I do is I spread them out. Now if you don't have fresh grape leaves in your backyard like myself, I have a grapevine, then you can actually buy grape leaves at an Arabic market, Italian or Greek market usually. And they come in a jar that says California grape leaves. And what you would do is just strain them and use those instead of the fresh, which is okay. Now before I start stuffing, what I like to do is take the stems off because I don't want those there. They might make the grape leaf too tough and chewy when you're chewing it. So I take the stems off first. And I take a spoon, tablespoon. I put it in each center of the grape leaf. I get them all lined up. And what I'll do is take and fold the bottom leaf over my rice mixture. So I'm getting all these ready. Then I'll take one side from the right, one side to the left, and roll them. Get them all rolled up first before I go to the next step. Get them, the more organized you are, the more you're going to enjoy preparing grape leaves. So in the chef world, we call it mise en place, having everything in place, as we do here. I have them all on my cutting board ready to go. And what I've done, if you notice, is that I put the tail end of the grape leaf on the bottom. That way it doesn't become unraveled and you lose all your rice mixture. Then you have a mess on your hands. So I have them ready to go. Now what I've done to prep for the grape leaves is I took a pot and I lined the pot with some grape leaves that maybe were too tough or maybe they were torn. And I lined the bottom of my pot with the grape leaves in order to keep them from burning. So now I'll take my grape leaves that I have just stuffed and I line the bottom of my pot with these, as you can see. And I'm going to do it in circles, tight knit circles, so that my grape leaves will stay together instead of getting unraveled. Then you're going to have grape leaf soup, and you don't want that. So I'm lining my pot with the grape leaves. If you're really good, you can even take them in the palm of your hand. And another thing I wanted to mention is that when you're stuffing the grape leaf, the veins are in the inside and the shining part outside. That adds to the presentation. You can also do it this way. Take a tablespoon of the mixture in the center, take the grape leaf, the bottom part up, and then wrap it from right to left, and then roll it, as you can see, carefully, the tail on the bottom and right into my pot. Another thing I wanted to mention is that when you're stuffing the grape leaves, you only need about a tablespoon of mixture. And this is because rice triples in size when it's cooking. So because rice triples in size, you don't really need a lot of rice to put in there. So because rice triplets in size, we just use 1 tablespoon. And the other thing I want to mention is that the rice is not completely cooked at this stage in the cooking process. The rice finishes cooking while it's in the pot, because the next step would be is to take and put a plate over the grape leaves. Once this pot is completely filled with the grape leaves, we add a plate and then pour about another 3 to 4 cups of warm water inside and about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then we put this on our stove top and allow it to boil until the water has been absorbed or evaporated. Once the water is evaporated, that's when the grape leaves are ready. So just remember that once the water is evaporated, your grape leaves will be ready to go. Now, once you use up all the grape leaves and you have used up all the rice, you might ask yourself, well, what can I prepare with my grape leaves? What can I make with my grape leaves to add to my eating experience in order to make it eat right? Well, the next thing would be to add a dip. And what I have here is yogurt, which will be in our dip, mint and dill, a cucumber, and garlic. Now these all will go into this bowl. And I just use half of the container, so about 1 pound of yogurt. Plain yogurt is fine. I'm going to mix that up, get that mixed. Next, on my cutting board, I will take a little bit of garlic. Garlic is always a fun thing to chop, because what you got to do is take your French knife and give it a good whack. And then you see the leaf comes right off. Peel comes right off. If it's fresh garlic, the peel will come right off. Don't be afraid. Just take the side of your knife, lay the garlic flat on your cutting board, give it a whack, and it's ready to go. So I take, when you're chopping garlic, is one thing you want to do is take the ends off. You don't want the ends in there. And I'm going to mince it. And mincing means that's the smallest cut when you're mincing. There's a dice cut, there's chop, which is bigger, then dice, and then mince. Mince is your smallest cut. So when you're mincing, you really want to get your garlic chopped really well, which I'm doing right here. You don't want the peel in there. So 2 garlic cloves minced. We'll add that to our yogurt. The next step is to grate our cucumber. And what I like to do is chop the ends off. And peel some of the peel off if you can, as much as you can. Use your peeler. This is just going to make this even more fresh, this dip, even better than. And what I'll do is take a little of my grater and just grate my cucumber. And it's good exercise too. not only are you eating right, you are putting a little exercise, put a little elbow grease in there. This half cucumber will get about a half cup of shredded cucumber. Okay. So I'm going to take this cucumber that I have shredded and add it to my yogurt sauce. Okay. Next, I would like to take a little lemon juice and add that. Usually about 2 tablespoons will do it. The lemon juice gives it a nice kick. I also like to add a little garlic and herb blend from Wild Tree. And in this blend, there are all types of great herbs in here. There's basil, there's oregano. It really gives it a lot of color. And what's great about this yogurt is you can use this on a lot of different other dishes that you want to use for a dip. You can even take pita bread and saute it and then add that as a dipping sauce. Okay. The other thing I would do is I would refrigerate the yogurt sauce for about a couple hours so that it will get a little bit thicker, just so I can get a nice chill. Okay, now next on my agenda will be to do the presentation. How would I present grape leaves? How would I make them look delicious? Well, what I'd like to do is use a white plate, and a nice clean white plate once they're prepared. And you can see how they are prepared actually. Once they're done, they're nice and plump and round. These have a lot of rice in them. And I would take a couple grape leaves and I would put them on a nice clean plate. What I'm doing here is slicing some lemon slices that I will use as a decoration. What I do is I take these lemon slices, line the bottom of our plate with them, and on each lemon slice I put a grape leaf, just like this, see? Real pretty, real colorful. You can even put a little mint around, a little piece of mint on the sides for color. And take a dab of the yogurt sauce, put on each one. How does that look? Absolutely amazing. And of course, no Greek dish is complete without some olives. So I like to put some olives around. And of course, olives, healthy fats that help to fight cholesterol. The people in the Mediterranean that eat a lot of foods like this, they tend to have less heart disease, lower cholesterol levels, and a lot better heart conditions. And I will ask now our sous chef, Chris. How's our sous chef, Chris, doing?
Good. How are you doing, George?
Great. Great to have you along.
Thanks for being here today. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This looks fantastic. What do we got here?
Well, we have some stuffed grape leaves,
Okay.
vegetarian style.
Very good.
With fresh herbs, fresh olives. Can't get any fresher than this.
Wow, fantastic.
And I'd like you to taste test for us here in the
Certainly.
kitchen. You need a plate?
Sure. What do we got? Very good.
Try these fresh ingredients from Greece. Do you like olives?
I love them.
Okay, we'll put a couple extra on there for you. Look at that, and it's so pretty.
Thank you. All
We
right.
usually, these are finger foods. We usually just eat them, you know.
Here we go. Fantastic. Forgive me, but talking my mouth a little bit. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this your recipe?
This is my recipe. It's actually in my cookbook, The Gourmet's Guide to Elegant Food Service. It's one of the most popular recipes in the cookbook. People always ask, you know, how do you make stuffed grape leaves? How do you stuff a grape leaf?
Right. Well, I'm not an actual chef, but today I'm playing one on TV. And as a fake chef to a real chef, I gotta say, excellent work.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Great
I'll
to
be
have
over
you
here.
along. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining me here on Eat Right by George. Remember to eat right by George. And there's also a www.eatrightbygeorge.com website. So you can actually visit the website and pick up a lot of great cooking tips, recipes, cooking videos, such as this one. There is also some great links on the website that will link you to other great resources if you're trying to eat right. Because, you know, here in the United States, we do have a problem with obesity and heart disease. And if we can get people to eat right by doing fresh recipes such as this, we can really improve our health of our family and our friends. So thank you so much for joining me here, and look for my recipes also in the Body, Mind, Spirit Guide. I have a recipe in there monthly. So look for my recipes there as well. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember to eat right by George.